Welcome to our panel on the remarkable 50-year journey of women's entrepreneurship in the United States, which we've compressed into 45 minutes. We'll explore how a small group of determined women created an ecosystem that has empowered millions of female business owners across America and eventually around the world. I'll begin with the early history, and then our distinguished panelists will share developments from their respective organizations. First, the strategic 70s. It all began in 1975 with 12 visionary women business owners in Washington, D.C., who were frustrated by their inability to access government contracts or business loans without a male relative co-signatory. These trailblazing 12, including Edie Fraser here, a vision in teal, formed what would become the National Association of Women Business Owners, or NAWBO. Their backgrounds spanned public relations, speech writing, HR, lobbying, law, and advocacy. One founder, Mary King, and her husband established the DC office for then Governor Jimmy Carter, his presidential campaign, when he was universally derided in the media as Jimmy Who. When elected, President Carter fulfilled his promise to Mary King by launching a series of groundbreaking initiatives, an interagency task force on women's business enterprise, which resulted in a landmark report titled The Bottom Line, Unequal Enterprise in America, written by a NAWBO member. This was followed by establishment of an interagency committee to implement these recommendations. Next, creation of the Small Business Administration's Office of Women's Business Ownership and Executive Order 12138 on women's business enterprise, signed in the White House Rose Garden in May of 1979, designed to fast-track women's entrepreneurship and federal procurement. Building a movement, that's what we did in the 1980s. When the political wind shifted during the late 70s and early 80s, I led women entrepreneurs in San Francisco and a coalition of other independent groups. I worked again with Edie Fraser and some other NAWBO women leaders to try to get the independent groups aligned with NAWBO. Edie, also a founding member of the Committee of 200, helped secure $10,000 contributions from a number of C200 members that enabled NAWBO's national expansion. Our next strategic triumph was the 1986 White House Conference on Small Business. Despite having only 2,500 members across 25 states, NAWBO strategically positioned its members to secure 15 state chair positions and 12% of the conference's 2,000 delegates, dramatically outperforming organizations with hundreds of thousands of members. The result, we successfully got 25 of our 26 policy recommendations into the national recommendations. Most having little direct connection to women's issues, but creating systemic change benefiting all entrepreneurs. Inc. magazine later called NAWBO, and I quote, the best little advocacy group in America. And little was the operative word. Changing the narrative. Prior to this conference, women business owners were typically featured in the newspapers only on Mother's Day, in what was called the women's section. After the conference, our members appeared in business magazines nationwide, often on the covers. Major business associations suddenly wanted NAWBO delegates on their boards of directors and sought us as association members. Simultaneously, the NAWBO created Center for Women's Business Research, led by Sharon Hadari and Julie Weeks, was producing groundbreaking studies documenting women entrepreneurs' economic impact. This research, combined with our White House conference success, set the stage for our third and biggest triumph, H.R. 5050, the Women's Business Ownership Act of 1988. It began with a strategic encounter at a congressional reception when NAWBO's president, Jillian Rudd, approached the chairman of the House Small Business Committee over a bowl of shrimp and suggested casually a hearing on women's entrepreneurship. We identified and prepared exceptional witnesses, drafted testimony, developed media strategies, and even wrote all the questions for the members of Congress to ask our witnesses. Then we drafted the legislation and conducted our national lobbying campaign to promote passage. These efforts culminated in the Women's Business Ownership Act of 1988, signed by President Reagan with near unanimous congressional support on the 25th of October. This groundbreaking legislation established 4 crucial pillars, mandated that the Census Bureau data collection on all women-owned businesses be established, women's access to business loans without needing a male relative co-signer. Our witness on this issue, and this is the most delicious, Lillian Lambert had to have her 17-year-old son as her co-signer because he had the right genitalia, even though she was his sole support. Creation of the National Women's Business Council to provide recommendations to government leaders. The council has played an enormous role in driving progress in multiple areas ever since, and almost all of us on this panel have served on the council. And launch of the first 5 Women's Business Center demonstration projects. Building the modern ecosystem. The foundations laid in those early years enabled the robust ecosystem we see today on the stage and throughout the room. It's now my privilege to introduce the amazing leaders who will share how their organizations have contributed to the remarkable evolution of our ecosystem. Edie Ratner led one of the first 5 women's business centers established under H.R. 5050. The Chicago Center she founded remains the largest in the country. Edie, please share how these centers have transformed access to training and resources for women entrepreneurs worldwide.
I'll try.
Nationwide, sorry, I think big.
I got it. Can you hear me? At the risk of giving Virginia a heart attack, I will say I'm entitled because I'm the oldest one here. Therefore, unfortunately, no one does debate that. So I'm starting by saying, once upon a time, in the not too distant past, which is about, we talked about 50 years, a small group of pioneers passionately committed to the empowerment of women began a movement. And it's a movement to not only change the face of business, but it's also a movement to change the way our world functions and the role of women in it. So taking a page from the history of new pioneer immigrants who started businesses because that was all that they could do when they came to this country, Carol Dougal and I started in 1986 one of the very first of the women's business centers in the United States. Our mission is to support and accelerate business development and growth, targeting women, targeting women serving other underserved communities and veterans in order to strengthen their participation in and impact on the U.S. economy. So now we're celebrating our 40th anniversary. We began the first WBE certification program and helped to establish WBENC, the Women's Business Enterprise National Council, which you all hear about. Our future vision is a diverse world where all business owners have an equitable opportunity to compete and succeed in the marketplace and achieve economic independence. So, how did we contribute to the ecosystem? We helped create women's entrepreneurial ecosystem through the work that we did and the way we established new programs around the country. The SBA, as Virginia so eloquently discussed, was a great supporter of women business centers. And I just had such a good time in the last month talking to our old friends who were part of the movement initially. Lindsay Johnson, who was an OBO director, one of the very first OBO directors. And SBA and OBO funded the first 3 centers that were established in the country. Ours was selected to start programs in Ohio, Florida, Pennsylvania, and Massachusetts. And those programs still exist and are certifying women business owners in their community. But rather than give you any statistics, because that will also give Virginia a heart attack, our program was established to not just help develop and expand women-owned businesses, but we also worked with other of the women's business centers, which are now close to 150, I think it's 152 women's business centers all over the country. How many of you have participated with any of the women's business centers in your communities? Great. That was founded in 1998 when the SBA began establishing the did I say 88, the pilot programs. We are a movement. We are changing the face of business. We are changing the face of leadership in our world. Thank you.
I want to do a small update on the issue of the termination of the National Women's Business Council. It's not 100% certain, as I understand, that that is the case. Normally, they have staggered terms and people continue depending on the length of their term. Those who had longer appointments were recently terminated. I spoke with the chair of the council and also the policy director of the council in the last 48 hours. One of the reasons my voice is as it is right now, but they were terminated for the remainder of their term, and there was a communication about potentially they could ask to be reinstated. Normally, we tried to have continuity, so no new council started with totally fresh members. Also, as of yesterday, none of the staff had been terminated. So we do not know the exact status, but we're watching that very carefully. Back to the official script. As the CEO of NAWBO, Jen Earle has continued the legacy of our founding mothers and grandmothers. Jen, please come up here and, please remain seated and tell us about NAWBO's evolution since the 1990s and how the organization has expanded its impact in recent decades. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you, Virginia. Hi, everybody, and the ecosystems that we're all able to appreciate today. So NAWBO, since then, we have chapters across the country. We also have a virtual experience, and we have a next gen category as well to help the next generation of women entrepreneurs. We work internationally. We bring delegations to different parts of the country. We have a couple of partners in here. I think Irene's here with the Global Summit of Women. We work with FCEM. We have a couple of other MOUs that we're signing with Turkey and Indonesia to help women in peer-to-peer support and education as well. And we just did, I don't know if Anne was on it or not, our international global meetup. We had 40 women on it, a number of them from Mexico and from the US, just talking about their businesses and helping each other. We're going to be doing those monthly, so that's really exciting. We have our NAWBO Circle, which is for our multi-million-dollar business owners. We learned over the years only 3% of women entrepreneurs make it to the multi-million-dollar level, and we needed to give additional peer-to-peer support and education for those that were, getting to that space. It's different. The larger you get, the different problems you have. And then we established the NAWBO Institute for Entrepreneurial Development. And within that, we have a number of resources for business growth. We're working on business journeys from the very beginning of when you start your business all the way through when you're ready to sell it. We also have a number of virtual programs that we run every month. We have a NAWBO Empower Hour that we do every week that everyone's invited to. It's more of like a mastermind kind of program. And then we have our advocacy work, which of course we were built on advocacy. So we're working on tax reform, healthcare, paid family leave. And the biggest thing right now is our definition for micro business. And what we're trying to do there is get that codified. And we're working with WIPP on that. And then we're also creating an access to capital program for the micro business, which will help them figure out where they need to go to get the capital that they need, give them the training, and then pair them up with the right kind of bankers or whatever they're needing to get the capital that they need. And then finally, our 50th anniversary is in Washington, D.C. This June 5 through 8, where we'll be honoring the women that came before us and the amazing legacy that they left for us and what our plans are for the future.
Bea Fitzpatrick was our training witness for the HR 5050 hearings. Her magnificent American Women's Economic Development Corporation, AWED, played a crucial role in training and mentoring two future ecosystem leaders. Marcia Firestone, founder of the Women Presidents Organization, and Susan Barry, the founding president of Women's Business Enterprise National Council. Camille Burns, who succeeded Marcia as CEO, will now share how WPO has grown and helped women-owned businesses scale. She'll also tell you about a $10,000 check that Marcia got on an airplane, and she'll showcase how WPO has collaborated with Enterprising Women magazine through the years to build this amazing award program.
Thank you so much, Virginia. And I want to echo what Jen was saying too, that, Virginia, Edie, Edie, Marcia Firestone, Susan Barry, Sharon Hadari, Monica, we wouldn't all be here today if these women didn't fight this fight for us. So I want to thank you. So talk a little about WPO and our fabulous founder, Marcia Firestone. And those of you who've been to the WPO forum, you've probably heard this story, but Marcia was sitting on an airplane with a good friend of hers, Mary Lehman McLaughlin, and started telling Mary about her idea. She wanted to start a peer advisory group for women running multi-million-dollar companies. And Mary said, so what's the problem? And she said, I don't have any money. And Mary, now this was the 90s, Mary pulled out a checkbook from her purse and wrote Marcia a $10,000 check on that airplane. And WPO today, thank you, WPO today has 2,000 members around the world in 150 different chapters. So thanks to Mary Lehman and that $10,000 check and Marsha's vision, here we are today. Over the years, WPO has expanded, and the organization was started in 1997. In 2001, we went to Canada. And WPO is very, very strong in Canada. And it was the first step sort of outside of the United States for the organization. Since then, we've grown in many different countries. We started in 2003 WPO Platinum groups for women that have businesses that are over 10 million. A few years later, I think 2007, we started Zenith in collaboration with WBENC, and that was for women with businesses 50 million and above. And you can think just in a few years, in 10 years' time, people didn't think there were going to be enough women running $1 million businesses. And here, 10 years later, there were women running 50, 100 plus $1 million companies. So it was, I think, a very exciting time for women-owned businesses. We also started the 50 fastest women-owned led companies list. Today, we partner with JP Morgan Chase on that list. And that was a way to get visibility for women-owned businesses. As Virginia mentioned, the perception, we had women running $50 million companies, and there was a perception that there weren't women running big businesses, that women were not in any non-traditional industries. And so this list originally was really just about getting visibility. It was wanting to show the world that, hey, there's women running these fast-growing businesses. They're doing amazing things. What's been interesting with that list, I think, is that over the years, we've seen a shift in kind of the businesses that end up on that list. So it's been really, really fun to watch that journey, I think, of women-owned businesses. And both Monica, we were talking about this the other day, but just watching the size of women-owned businesses grow over the years, right? So seeing that in the early days, I think Monica was saying that there was one point where she wanted to honor women with $10 million companies, and it was like, oh, you're never going to find those women. And over the years, we've been able to just watch women-owned businesses grow and scale. I think now we're honoring businesses with $1 billion in revenue and above. And it's been, and I think WBENC's seen the same thing. It's been really amazing to see the success of women-owned businesses. For WPO and enterprising women, I think honoring the women with businesses that are growing and scaling is important for the world to see that there are women running these businesses. And I think Monica's done an incredible job over the years of honoring so many successful women business owners from around the world. And we've been kind of in lockstep. I know Marsha was there when Monica started Enterprising Women, and we've been partners along the way and helping women grow and scale their companies. So I'll just end with today, we're continuing to grow the organization. We're doing more on a global scale. I feel very strongly right now that this is a time where women need to support each other more than ever. And we need to find the opportunities in this room. And also look at the women outside the United States. There's so many opportunities for us to partner and work together and help support women on a global scale. Yeah.
WPO was profiled in the very first issue of Enterprising Women in May of 2000. And you're right, Camille, in 2003, when we started the awards program, that top revenue category was businesses with over 10 million in revenue. Today, it's businesses with over 100 million, and we do have billion-dollar winners. But I called Marsha and I said, where in the world are we going to find any women business owners with 10 million in revenue?
Next future leader, Pamela Prince-Eason offers a unique perspective, having started as a corporate member of WBENC, the Women's Business Enterprise National Council, during her time at Fraser, before becoming WBENC's third CEO. Pam, please tell us about your organization's trailblazing work in supplier development, your partnership with institutions like Tuck and Women Impacting Public Policy, and how you've helped extend this model globally.
Thank you so much, Virginia. It's my honor to be here with all of you, and I too want to very much say thank you to Edie, to Edie, to Monica, to all of you in the room who've had anything to do with the development of the great work that occurs in this space, this ecosystem that exists for all of us. So let me talk to you about WBENC. Many of you know you're WBENC certified. I loved going through the magazine, and on the way down here, I was reading all the profiles and seeing all the WBENC certified women, and I'm so glad. I mean, we were really founded on certification at the very beginning, and we exist because of organizations like Edie's that. There were 4 to 5. There's a debate on how many. There were 4 or 5 of the organizations, but there's no debate that Edie's was one of them, that came together and said, we need a national office, right? We need to really do this and be coordinated and that sort of thing. So I love the history, Virginia. We thank you and everyone for sharing that history with us today. We started as a certification organization. I hope that many of you are certified by us. We were certifying just for corporate America. In 2011, when I came over, we became a certifier for the SBA. We were deemed a certifier for the SBA for WOSB, and we started certifying in 2011. They started recognizing it about 8 years later when they implemented set-asides for women. And so we've had a really active role in trying to expand the WOSB program, much of which I do in conjunction with my very good friend, Angela. And so she'll talk with you about women impacting public policy, but let me encourage you, if you're part of our organization, WBENC, I very much encourage you to be part of Women Impacting Public Policy. Need you to use your voice and make a difference in what we need to do. So we'll talk just a minute about supplier development. Having come out of corporate America, I was able to see around the world the limitations that existed, not just for women, but for many small businesses. And so I really grew a passion for understanding what could we do different in a large corporation that would allow you to be more competitive. And so we started working with corporate America to help them put new processes, new policies in place to have an awareness of what is in their ecosystem that limits you. But then we've now started through WBENC working with you to ensure that we have all kinds of supplier development programs. So we have a very robust program really qualifying you to support corporate America and the government supply chains. And so for those of you who have been part of our We Thrive, our We Ignite program, it culminates with a series of different things that take you to our Tuck in-person experience. And it truly is a capstone experience to let you express what it is you need to do with your business. So we focus on scaling you and growing you. That's what I would say WBENC does these days. Certainly, we're always going to certify. We're always going to make sure those opportunities exist for you. But resources around access to capital, as well as scaling your business, is what we are best known for now. And so thank you to all of you for being the great businesses that you are. It allows me, when I talk to corporate America and to various parts of the government, to talk about how great all of you are. And I want to call one person out in the audience. I hope I won't embarrass you. This is Dr. Shakina Williams. She is my sister, along with Jen, on the National Women's Business Council. We were just notified that we would have to reapply if we wanted to play. And I just want to tell you, Shakina is with Babson. She does development of women as well, and is just absolutely wonderful at what she does. So Shakina, I want to call you out for that.
Thanks so much. And another data point in history, the files from the Center for Women's Business Research got turned over to Babson. So we have a historic link that's really important. As women's business organizations proliferated, it became clear that a broader advocacy voice was needed. This led two NAWBO leaders, Barbara Kassoff and Terry Neese. Terry, stand up, please. Representing both sides of the political spectrum, to create Women Impacting Public Policy. Angela Dingle, former board chair and current CEO of WIPP, will share the organization's key policy initiatives, its economic impact, its economic blueprint, and its impact on federal contracting. And I hope you'll also be talking about international advocacy issues.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. Good morning. I am so excited to be here with you all. As the CEO of WIPP, I was a member of WIPP for many years before I became a CEO, and the names that you've heard, the milestones that have hit, I kind of like grew up hearing about those things, and so to be in the room with any of these ladies on any given moment is such an honor. WIPP worked through the 2000s, the early 2000s, to really ensure that women's voices were heard. We created a program called We Decide. It was a collaboration amongst all of the organizations that you see here to really codify what is it that we want candidates, elected folks that are running for office, what do we want them to understand about women businesses? And how can we communicate that in a way that is memorable to them and get us in front of them? So WIPP took that initiative and created We Decide 2026. It was a survey. So what is it that women want? Take that information, put it into a document. I can recall my first engagement seeing it on like a bookmark, right? So if I'm talking to an elected official, I'm talking to someone in Congress, I'm in the room, I know what my talking points are. That document still lives on today in what's called the economic blueprint. It is our set of policy priorities and recommendations associated with that. And that document has been used both by WIPP members and by our partners, but also the National Women's Business Council uses that information. It's been very helpful to ensure that elected officials know what it is that's important to women. So our policy priorities currently are access to capital, because although HR 5050 gave us the ability to go into the bank and not have to have a male signer, there are banks that are still asking. Right? They're still asking women to bring in a male counterpart. So access to capital is so important for women to be able to start and grow their businesses. And we are not just saying women need access to capital. We're saying what kind? What does that look like? How can we use CDFIs? How can we increase the number of female venture capitalists? What can we do in the angel investing arena? What can we do around certifications and access to contracts that will enable women to be able to grow their businesses? Parity in the government contracting program. So from an education standpoint, WIPP has for 15, 20 years educated women on how to do business with the federal government. We started with a program years ago called Give Me 5. It was a play on the fact that the government is supposed to allocate 5% of their contracting dollars to women-owned businesses. In its current iteration, it's called Challenge Her. Challenge Her is 13 years old. It's a partnership between American Express, Women Impacting Public Policy, and the Small Business Administration. We've trained over 26,000 small businesses on how to do business with the federal government, and we'll continue to do that. Our other priorities have to do with fairness in the tax code. So we don't care if it's we don't want a pink tax. We just want women to have some say with respect to what our tax provisions look like. And over the years, WIPP has started a number of organizations. We started a 501c3 called the WIPP Education Institute, and that data that we've talked about, that data is now encapsulated in a report called The Impact of Women-Owned Business. We partnered with Venture Newer, a woman-owned business, Core Woman, and Wells Fargo to really see what's happening with women-owned businesses. We are starting businesses and have been at a pace that's 1.5 times greater than our male counterparts. Women contribute nearly $2 trillion to the U.S. economy. And it's just really important for us to keep in mind the important role that women play in the U.S. economy. We represent 51% of the population. So as you see and hear changes that are happening from a political standpoint, someone told me a long time ago, get into public policy or get out of business. And I just think it's so important for us to do that. Virginia talked about WIPP International. Yes, I see Terry over there. Thank you.
Politics or
get into public policy or get out of business. It's so important, folks. There are people that are making decisions on behalf of your business every single day. We are on the Hill advocating for you, but you need to add your voice as well, and your voice is your power. It's such an important thing. I'll talk a little bit more about community, talk about WIPP International, and then I'll be quiet. So from a community standpoint, WIPP has what we call coalition partners. It's these organizations. I am on the phone. We are showing showing up for one another. We're having conversations about what's happening and what we need to be doing. And as such, Virginia and I have been having conversations about WIPP International. We started International many years ago, but the timing wasn't right. The time is now for us to look at international opportunities. Camille talked about it. Pam talked about it. And so WIPP is going to take up that charge along with these other organizations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Angela, and that is music to my ears. I work with the Women's 20 of the G20 countries. I'm the head of Women Entrepreneurs Act, which is the action and implementation arm. What happens in the United States affects the world, and they are ready for action. Our global impact is next. The leaders who preceded these remarkable women on our panel today not only built the U.S. ecosystem, but shared their knowledge globally through 3 women entrepreneurial best practice conferences I organized for the OECD in Paris in 1997 and 2000, and Istanbul in 2004. The Istanbul conference, involving 86 countries alongside an OECD ministerial meeting, dramatically accelerated global ecosystem development. Most of the organizations on this panel today participated on an absolutely brilliant panel organized by the late, great Julie Weeks, then head of the National Women's Business Council and previously research director of the Center for Women's Business Research. We also shared 2 important pieces of knowledge for that event. One was a 24 organizational best practice compendium that Julie pulled together. And the other one was a policy and progress manual on how we drove change in the United States. Enormously helpful, and other organizations sucked up that knowledge like crazy. I need to also give a shout out to Irene Natividad. I don't think she's in the room right now. She's the founder of the Global Summit of Women, who is a living legend for her worldwide advocacy on many issues we care about. Irene and I also work together on the U.S. delegation to the Women 20, as does Molly Gimmel, who is in the room. Molly, where are you? In the orange. Now I will introduce our final panelist, our woman warrior, Edie Fraser, whose 5-decade, but who's counting, contributions, including founding roles with NAWBO, C200, and most recently, the Women's Business Collaborative, where she now serves as board chair. Edie.
This is a labor of love for each other. I think you see the connections, the connectivity, the respect, and what we know is none of us do it alone, and we all do it together. So as you brought tears to your eyes, we just want to say thank you to each other, because banded together with the economic data, and I'll talk about the Women Business Collaborative, it is so fitting on the 25th anniversary of Enterprising Women that we say, Monica, thank you to you. Thank you for being the most humble person we know, for never taking credit and always elevating others. For building the magazine, for the vision we had for the foundation, for being in with Terry Peace Through Business, as well as the Youth Mentorship Program. We're here to look at our history. So very, very quickly, I just have to look back. I think it was 47 years ago, Virginia, because you've done US, you've done global. But Virginia closeted us in San Francisco in a room, and said until we take NAWBO national, we couldn't leave. But it was out of NAWBO that we started C200, and Tara Abraham will be here today as our new chair, Tara. So we recognize you've known her through the women business community as well, but as an entrepreneur, Tara, thank you for being here as well. And as we name all these names through history, because we're looking back, we're looking at today, and we're projecting of how we do sing and scale for tomorrow. So I think we can just celebrate each other in such a big way as we look forward. Well, it was 6 years ago that we started the Women Business Collaborative because we said it is time to put everybody together, not to compete, but to collaborate. So we got 21 organizations together back in May of 2019. We rang the New York Stock Exchange bell for equality. Sharon Reynolds was there, others were there, and we're now about 88 organizations strong, but pushing more women CEOs, C-suite, boards of directors, more capital for women, entrepreneurship growth, and it's been just a wonderful ride on the economic and data story that is so important. And is so many of you, whether it's Enterprising Women or all of our organizations, we're there together whenever the call comes or whenever we do need. We all work together on the 5% initiative. And today, as we call out Babson and Chiquina, what you're doing to pick up the baton and what we're all doing to tell the economic story of the 14 million in the United States, and as you do worldwide, it is our economic power that everybody in the room has just cited and is so strong for what we all need to tell. And that economic data we can break down by any state, any district. We just got a proclamation 2 weeks ago from the mayor in Washington for Entrepreneurs Day because we cited the data in DC, we took Virginia, we took Maryland, so we can do it anywhere for the power of business. And let's just say it was during COVID that everybody here fought for getting women business owners loans to keep them sustained. So that's how we've all worked together. And Sharon, thank you for working with me on this Entrepreneurs of Purpose, because if we go through, we're focusing on what are you doing to scale your business with everybody helping one another. What are the introductions? We say contacts to contracts, right? And if we don't do that every day for each other, we're not fulfilling what we all want to do together, because we are so purposeful for helping each other, particularly in these times.